then I don't want to cause contention. So instead of contention, I go to curiosity. It's like, okay, so I know they're not going to listen to me. So I'm going to create some curiosity here. I'm curious why they think this. It starts out where they care about you, and then they become concerned, and then they become critical. Care, concern, and critical. So somebody who cares can turn into concern, which then can dip into being critical. And the difficult part about this is, other people don't do a good job with social skills. I've come to realize that other people and social skills, there's not like a training for social skills. There's not like a family dynamics training that every family goes through. And so for some reason, family and sometimes close friends feel like they have special permission to go from caring to concerning to critical. And then when they're being critical, they think they're still being caring, but they're not. They're not. It's like, okay, that's critical. What you just said to me. Okay, that's condemning. So care, concern, critical, condemning. It's like this digression of care. But to them, they think that they're still caring. That's the weird part, is people think, oh, I'm just caring about you. And it's like, no, you're condemning me. Give me a chance. I'm trying to figure me out. I'm trying to figure out my life. I'm trying to figure out my personality. I'm trying to figure out my purpose. And family and friends just have this way of going from caring to critical and condemning, and they don't realize it. They don't know what they're doing. And if you were to say to a family member, hey, you're being critical, they could take it offensive and say, no, I'm not. I just really care about you. And you will hear them say that. You will hear them say, well, I'm not condemning you. I'm not being critical. I'm really concerned and I'm really caring about you. They don't know that they've dipped down into the critical and condemnation level. And I've had my own discussions with family before where I said, you're being critical. No, I'm not. It's like, yes, you are. And now it's an argument over whose interpretation to go with, your experience or their experience. So now here's another part that you're not on the same page. They think they're still in the care and concern zone, but they've dropped down to the critical and the condemning zone. So even if you try to say, hey, here's care, here's concern, here's critical, here's condemning, my experience with you is you're below the line, that might offend them because they're thinking they're above the line. And now you got yourself another issue, because now they think you're being judgmental because you call them being critical or condemning. And so it's like this never ending mess of what family and friends say. Sometimes it can be spouses or siblings, right? Okay, so what do you do? What do you do? So I know that my reactions determine what they say, how it hits me. So if someone were to be critical with me or condemning with me, first I go to, okay, they don't know where they're at. Maybe they do, but I'm going to guess they don't know that was a critical thought that they just said. And so what I do is I ask them to explain themselves. Instead of me reacting and saying, hey, you're being critical, then I don't want to cause contention. So instead of contention, I go to curiosity. It's like, okay, so I know they're not going to listen to me. So I'm going to create some curiosity here. I'm curious why they think this. So for example, now, did you catch all those words? Care, concern, critical, and condemning, right? We got that. And now instead of creating contention, I mean, let's just do all C words, right? Instead of creating contention, let's create curiosity. How did I just do that? That was like brilliant. I should write that down. Care, concern, critical, condemning. And then there's contention or curiosity. So my way of solving this years ago when it first started is I went to curiosity. So I was at a family dinner. And as I was at a family dinner, somebody said at the dinner table, now this is with a bunch of family around, somebody said, "Hey, Kirk, how's your business going?" And I was like, "Well, it's okay." And I was super struggling, right? Like struggling, I was trying to figure stuff out and I was struggling but I was trying to make it sound like, okay, I'm hanging in there, right? And then another family member says, "Oh, so how many people did you have at your class last week?" And I said, 3. And then the whole dinner table is quiet because I only had 3 people at my class. And so then somebody says, "So is that good or bad?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, here we go." And I answered, I said, "Well, that's good. It's better than 0." And then a family member says, "Oh, so do you really think this is going to work out for you?" And right there, I was like, my blood started to boil because I'm being interrogated in front of the whole family, extended family too. So they said, "Oh, so do you really think this is going to work?" And I thought, okay, I'm about ready to create contention because I'm about ready to snap back at that comment. And so I was like, I didn't know I was creating curiosity back then, but I was like, okay, what's another way to answer that question? And I said, "Well, I'm curious. Is 3 people good or bad to you?" And so then my curiosity, because I want to understand the way that they think or how they're evaluating me. And I said, "So what would you think? Is 3 people good or bad?" And so the person did not expect my curiosity question. And they said, "Well, I guess it's the way you look at it." And I said, "Yeah, I guess it would be. How do you look at it?" So now I'm still curious. What do they think? And I'm just going to keep the curiosity going. And they said, "Well, I guess it could be good because that's 3 people you helped, but it might be bad if you wanted to have 20 and there's only 3. I said, "Yeah, that's true." I said, "So how would you evaluate this? Is 3 good or bad?" And they said, "Well, how many people did you want?" And I said, "I wanted 20." And they said, "Oh, so this is bad." And I said, "Oh, why would you call it bad?" So I kept asking them about their point of view about what I'm going through. I wanted to understand them and I wanted to hear them out. And they said, "Well, if you only had 3 people and you wanted 20, then that's bad." And I said, "Oh, so what do you think I should do about this?" And the person said, "Well, maybe you shouldn't do this anymore." And I said, "Oh, so that's your thought, is I should quit?" And they said, "Well, no, I don't think you should quit. I just think you need to look at, doing something that really works." So I'm still curious. And I said, "So what I'm hearing you say is if you were me, you would quit." And now they're like, well, no, I wouldn't quit. Well, you just told me to quit. Well, I just don't want you to get hurt. And I said, well, what would you do if you were me and you had 3 instead of 20? And they said, well, maybe I'd try something different. That's kind of a cop-out answer, right? And I said, well, what would you do different? Well, I don't know. What are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm still processing that. What do you think I should do? So I'm involving them in my journey. Instead of they're on one side and I'm on the other side, I brought them into the situation by being curious what they think. But I didn't just get their answer and then that's it. I kept going with my questions. And then I involved the whole table. I said, what do you guys think I should do to get from 3 to 20 people? Now, what happened is I'm enrolling the family to give me ideas of how to get to 20 people in my class. Where before I felt like I was being, condemned or judged or measured, or I could feel people questioning me if I'm going to make it or not. But my curiosity in them and what they thought and what they would do really taught me a lot about them. And I applied it to their life. So if you were me, you would quit. You would quit after this much work. And the people would say, no, I would keep trying. I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Now, if they would have said, yeah, I would quit. Oh, so you would quit. What would you go do different? Well, I don't know. Well, no, you got to come up with something. So even if they throw out these answers that are, these like, they think they know it all, I stay curious to go, well, where would I go work? Well, you should just go get a job. Okay, what job should I go get? I don't know, whatever you like. And I'm like, no, pretend like this is you. Where would you go get a job? You would quit your purpose and passion and go get a job. Where would you go get a job? See, as long as I kept it about them, it brings them to reality. Instead of them being a person in the stands or an audience watching me, I brought them onto the stage of my real life struggle. I brought them into it and I made them be part of it. And anytime somebody would be critical or condemning with me, I could choose contention, but that just never turns out well. It causes divide between family, division between friends. And it's like, I just didn't want to do that. So I turned to curiosity and I would stay with it. If they say, well, I think you should quit and get a job. Okay, where would you go if you were going to quit your passion and your purpose and what God told you to do? If you're going to quit what God asked you to do, where would you go get a job? And I had a person once said, well, I'd go down to the burger joint and get a job at the burger joint. And I go, and then would you still do your passion and purpose? Well, yeah, I'd keep doing that. Well, how would I do that? And they usually will end up saying, I don't know. And it's like, I know. That's what I'm curious about is how do you think I'm supposed to do it when I follow your ideas? Every person that I've played the curiosity game with them, and I'm curious what they would do, they end up using the get out of the conversation statement of like, oh, I don't know. And when they say they don't know, then I say, I do know. I'm sticking with this. You don't know what you would do, but I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick with it.